So who are you?
So I'm Mitch Olson. I'm a co-founder of smallworlds.com.
And what is Small Worlds?
Small Worlds is a virtual world that integrates digital media, web content and casual games into a browser-based virtual world.
Okay, so it's browser-based. It's not like Second Life where you have to download
No download. So I mean, one of the key problems that have been with virtual worlds in the past has just been around that issue of accessibility. You know, you've had these downloads, and then sometimes you've needed a computer with a graphics card to be able to run it, and then once you actually got the world up and running, you know, sometimes the interaction design sometimes made it really difficult to find your way around the world. So the first thing we wanted to focus on was creating an experience which was as accessible as possible to as many people as possible.
Right. And who are you?
Oh, hey there. Ted Tagami, Vice President of Business Development for Small Worlds.
Very cool. So we'll have a conversation. Can you show it to me?
Sure.
And is it a free service?
So it's free. It's a freemium model, so free to play. We've just in fact launched so you can either go to smallworlds.com, or we've just launched on Facebook and Bebo. We're just about to launch on Open Social, so you can play it from any one of those places.
And just launched. So tell me a little bit about the company.
So we just the product's been in development since 2007. We just came out of beta in December last year, and we've got 375,000 users.
Already in just a couple months.
Well, we had about 100,000 up at through the beta stage, and we've sort of tripled those numbers.
That's still pretty crazy.
A couple of months.
And it works on Mac or Windows?
Mac or Windows, even Linux.
Oh,
so it runs on Flash. So you know, anything that's got the Flash, and maybe even next year it'll run on mobile devices if Adobe do a good job with Flash 10.
Okay, cool. So this is it.
Yep. So this is smallworlds.com. So I'm just going to take you through. I'm just logging in.
Yeah.
And the first thing that users who log in will see is our community newspaper. So you know, an important part of a virtual world is creating that sense of community, letting people know what other people are doing, what they're creating. So the first thing you do is come to the newspaper. So I just want to give you a quick idea. You know, one of the first things that people do is to create their own avatar. I've got a number of different avatars here.
Yeah.
And I'll just quickly show you just a couple of the steps involved in terms of creating an avatar. So you start off by selecting either from a starting point, or you can just start from scratch.
Yep.
And then we've got a sort of a Wii-like look and feel. So we tried to make the thing as accessible as possible again. So we can change here, we can morph the shape of the face.
Yep.
Change the colour, change the nose, change the hairstyle.
Right.
Some of these options you'll see are VIP options. So as I was saying before, it's a freemium model, free to play, but if you want a deeper experience or you want more customization, then you can join the VIP club, which is a subscription model.
And how much does that cost?
So that's $7.95 a month.
A month, okay.
So otherwise you can just buy, for instance, the currency, and you can purchase things. So there's two currencies. There's an attention currency, and then there's a currency which is linked to gold.
Okay.
So again, it's just you've got those ability just to customize your
avatar.
Your avatar.
Cool. So we got our avatar. Let's see what the world looks like.
Sure. So I'll just go back. You've also got the ability to make pets. You can customize
your dance moves.
Dance moves or dance moves.
Excellent.
So let's go into the world. So I'm going to take you for a start, my pad, Mo's Chill Box it's called.
Okay.
So everyone can create their own space. So a big part of
so this is singular. It's similar to Second Life, where you create your own world, or
well, similar in the sense that you can customize that users are able to be able to create their own spaces.
Okay.
Different in the sense that what we've tried to do is to create an experience and give people the tools to be able to create spaces, but to make that as accessible as possible. So accessibility has been one of the key sort of design goals in terms of, rather than just making the customization and the building of worlds only available to people who have got, you know, relatively sophisticated skills, to make those available to pretty much everyone.
When you come in and you aren't part of a world yet, as a new user, what's the metaphor for the world? Are you in a city? Are you on an island? Are you just in a block? What does it look like when you first come into the world?
So at the moment, when you first come into the world, you'll come into a space. All the spaces are URL addressable, so you can enter directly into pretty much any space. Usually people will come into their own spaces, and then to move from one space to another, you either, you know, you'll select it. You might find it, for instance, when you first come into the newspaper, and you'll read an article about someone who's just created a dance club, for instance. So you can click on that and go straight into it. So in a sense, all of the spaces are hyperlinked.
Can you see a global map of all the spaces?
So we've got.
In other words, is there a metaphor for the world that you can see from God view?
So we're starting to build that out. So for instance, we're just starting to build into urban spaces. So you'll have the notion of being able to travel. You'll have this notion of geographical adjacency, if you like, so that you have the notion of being able to move. And people will be able to also add spaces so that they can gradually build up, from starting with a single space. Maybe it's an indoor space, maybe it's an outdoor space, to gradually be able to build up a larger, moving from spaces to islands, to worlds.
Right. Now, your pad here, so this wasn't, you built this.
So
tell me how this became.
Okay. So every user starts off, and everyone gets a space for each of their avatars, and you can select from a template, and there's a number of different spaces. So effectively, what you get is you get a different shaped space, and then from there, you know, one of the first things that people will do is I'm just going to drop that chat box down, is they might customize their decor. So for instance, if I come up here.
So this is like I get one room when I first come in here?
Correct.
So I'll have Robert's room when I first sign in, or Robert's chill pad or whatever.
Yep.
And then I can start decorating that room by putting pictures on it and furniture. Where do I get the furniture and the pictures and stuff like that?
Okay, so there's a number of different shops and small walls. I'll show you those shortly. So you can go, and we've got different themes. So you might be into a gothic steampunk type theme. So you can decorate your spaces in a number of different ways. And there's both indoor and outdoor spaces as well.
Okay.
So
Also,
here,
let me just back up. This space, how many people can get in this space? Because this is a web addressable space, right?
Yep.
So there's a URL for Mo's chill pad, right?
Correct.
And so if I put that URL on my blog,
Yep.
100,000 people read it a day.
Yep.
How many people can fit in here?
Well, for public spaces, we multi-instance them. So once you get up to around about 20 people, then we'll create another instance of that space.
Okay.
But if you want to meet someone in a particular instance, you can say, you might IM them and say, you know, here's the URL. Meet me in instance number 3.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay. And is that true for all spaces? Are there spaces like baseball stadiums or something like that? Or are all the spaces a room-based?
No, so there's outdoor spaces as well. So you've got islands. As I said, we're starting to build urban spaces. So gradually starting to extend the notion of the different types of spaces that you can create.
The reason I'm asking that is a lot of brands got really excited by Second Life because this kind of immersive world obviously offers a rich branding experience, right?
Sure.
You could have a Coca-Cola space, for instance, right? But the problem was on Second Life, you could only get 100 people in there.
Scale.
And you spend $100,000 to build out a space and have a bunch of graphic designers build all sorts of fun stuff for it, and then nobody can use it. Not enough people can use it.
Sure.
And so they're now keying in on, well, the next Second Life idea, virtual space like this, if I can get more interaction, more people into my brand, then I'm going to start investing money again into this kind of idea.
Yeah. Well, you've got two problems. One problem, if you've got 100,000 people in, like you mentioned, 100,000 people in a chat room, It would be like trying to follow your Twitter feed, for instance.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Actually, I'm following 70,000 people on Twitter. You know? And you can start seeing. There's tools coming
Yeah,
along that,
sure.
like TweetDeck, that let you sort of
Filter,
separate out who you really want to listen to.
Yeah, sure.
But a lot of those kinds of experiences are not going to be one-to-one. They're going to be like a speech. Like when you go to President Obama and hear him in a park with 100,000 other people, you're not listening to all the people, talking 10 yards away from you. You might listen to your close friends who you went there with, but you're really there to listen to President Obama give a speech, right? And that's what Coca-Cola wants to do, is have a place where you can have 100,000 people come and listen to a speech or listen to a music concert or something like that.
That's the beauty of what we've done with Small Worlds, in the fact that you're really adding a transmedia experience to this. So in addition to the avatars, Mitch will show us what we're listening to music in the background. That's synchronous. If we want to share a video, it could be a live stream, it could be something from YouTube. That's synchronous.
Yeah.
So the objective here is you could have Obama giving a live speech, and you could have 100,000 people watching it. They're just not all necessarily in the same space.
Okay.
So there is an ability to do that and to scale.
So as it instances across, and you have 100 people or 20 people in each instance, you could have 100,000 people
Correct.
watching the same video, listening to the same music, but it's just in different little rooms.
Correct.
Yeah, that hasn't happened yet, but that's definitely a solvable problem.
Okay.
Just based on the way.
Well, it
we've done
will. I mean, if this is really as cool as it sounds like,
Well,
it,
you can do that. You can do that already. So you can do that already. Like as an example, if we come over, so this is my space here.
Yeah.
Up on the wall here, I've got posters. These are pulled from Flickr. Here's my Twitter feed over here.
That's your Twitter. This is your Twitter feed here.
This is my Twitter feed.
That's
so
cool.
For instance, if I click on here and say view, then it just takes me into my Twitter feed.
Yeah.
So there you can see my feed, and I could say update my Twitter feed here. If I can spell.
Yeah. You stole me. Well, you should do @Scobalizer so people would know.
Oh yeah.
How's that? Is that
Yep,
right?
you did it right. Yep. Cool.
Got my
So you can have lots of little interactive plaques like this?
Sure. So we
Could I have my
bring in-
Facebook wall on one, or a Facebook status?
Well,
I guess Facebook has certain limits to the APIs that can pull stuff out of your
anything
Facebook.
that's got an API we can hook into. So for instance, over here we've got a stereo. If I click on that stereo and look at the playlist, this is SeekPod. So I can click on any. I can click on
that's
any
cool.
anything. This is my own playlist, or I could search on here.
What do you like, Robert?
Black Eyed Peas.
Okay, so
Yeah. Hey, Mama. I'm like,
so that's added to my playlist, and then I can come down here and click that.
yep. There we go.
And that's synchronous. So if you have 20 folks in the room, they're all hearing the same at the same point in time. It's
Oh,
not
that's
like
cool.
I've come in the room later, so I'm now getting the beginning of the music. So if you're dancing or if you're chatting, everyone's hearing the same experience.
Oh, that's really cool. And so everybody has their own little avatar, and like if Ted came in this room, you would see his avatar walking around
Yeah,
and
so
exploring things?
We'll go into a space which has got some more people in. I mean, the other thing we've got over here, for instance, we've got a YouTube. So again, we can click on watch,
Oh, that's really neat.
and these are things that are in my playlist, or I could type in.
Skiing.
Great thing
or
about you,
yeah,
Robert,
I'm
is
all
that
over the
you're
place.
everywhere.
Oh yeah, Scoble eats a sandwich. Go for it. I was at the radio conference a couple of weeks ago. Eric Rhodes recorded that. Yeah, great. All the fun things we put on YouTube.
Yeah. And obviously there's lots of places. We've got, and all these spaces are user generated. So we've got, at the moment there's 375,000 spaces that people have created. Some of them, like mine, are just like their own sort of their own personal space. Other people are creating art galleries, clubs, hospitals,
Now,
schools, you
now to
name it.
create one of those walls, or you call them plaques, right? One of the walls with YouTube on it. How did you do that?
So I went to a shop, and at the shop, we'll visit a shop. I just wanted to show you one more place here. So
Okay.
here's a place that someone's created, and what have we got in here? So they've bought we've just got a little message here that we've come and they've told us that we can
Listen
come
to their
and
music
chat, listen
and
to their music,
steal their
now,
beer.
This is all they've created. They've bought an item from a shop called the Canvas, and then they've actually come in here and they've clicked draw, and they've created this art.
Wow.
And because I've got admin rights, I can draw on there. But most people, they'll basically lock that off so other people can't. And people are selling art.
Now, can you put different music to different walls?
So the
like-
music has proximity. So you can, for instance, as you move closer towards a stereo, the music will get louder. So on a
Okay.
big space, you might actually have a number of different music sources, like on an island or something like that. And again, as you move from one music source to another, you'll hear music fade out from one and fade into another.
That's really cool.
So let's quickly just go to a shop. Let's say, for
Now,
instance,
down here you have people, places, missions.
missions.
So you can have games?
So you can have games. A big part of in the past, one of the big problems with virtual worlds, again, is you've had two types of virtual worlds. You've had one virtual world which has been a pre-configured, molded experience. So it's given to you, and you might have some sort of superficial capability in terms of being able to tweak and customize it in some small way. And at the other end, you've had an experience or virtual world like Second Life, where you need to be a 3D artist, or you need to be someone who's can program to basically create something. And what we wanted to do was create a world which would evolve, where the people inside the world were the evolutionary agents of that world itself. So again, comes back to accessibility, that is being able to provide a means by which users could create experiences which they could share with others. And what we've done is provide them effectively with these building blocks. If you might think of them as digital building blocks that the users can put together in interesting ways. And if you
Can you
produce,
turn down that music a little
Yeah,
bit?
sure.
Okay.
So in what we've done is provide the users with these digital building blocks which they can put together in interesting ways, and out of that emerges things that you never expected, never anticipated. So it's about bringing. It's not about only bringing virtual worlds to the masses, but also bringing user-generated content and a game experience to the masses as well.
Yeah, I see down here you have a profile, which is probably similar to what you have on Facebook or something.
So here, for instance, my profile, if you look there, you can see we've got 4 different experience ladders:
Yeah.
gamer, explorer, artist, and there's another one also called your social one. You can see there that I've obviously been tweaking the database, and I've leveled myself right all the way up to 100. But basically, as people engage in the world, as for instance they do some of the missions, which I'll show you in a minute, they might be playing casual games, they might be doing art, they basically start to level up, and as they gain more experience points, they level up to the next level, and that then gives them access to extra features. Say, for instance, as you get to a level 20 gamer, you can go and buy yourself a jetpack, and then you can zoom around the world quicker, or you might be able to buy a cape or wings or something along those lines.
Now, mail lets me email to. Can I email to outside the world?
That mail is in internal mail, but we
Okay.
also have the ability here. For instance, you can basically
Share.
share it, and we share your either with your friends on social networks. As I said before, we're on Facebook and Bebo at the moment. We're about to launch on the open social networks. Next month. You can create an avatar for a friend, or say, for instance, even you can click. If I click up here, let me just turn around here, and I'm just going to wave. Oh, I'm facing the wrong way.
Oh, so you're over there. You're trying to wave your hand.
And there I can say, for instance, take I'm out of the and then you could, for instance, send that as a postcard to a friend, or save it as a snapshot for the space itself.
Now there's another guy in here.
Yeah.
Go ahead and click.
Yeah.
What can you do interactively with other people?
So I
in
can
the
just
world?
I can say hi, so I can talk to
Oh,
them.
yes.
You've also got the ability to whisper to a person. If I click on them, I can see what their experience ladder is.
Yep.
I can add them to my friends, or I can, for instance, if they're in my room and they're bugging me, I could boot them out of my. If the space was my own, I could boot them out of my own space, or report them if they were being offensive in some way.
Very cool. In the last couple seconds, anything else I need to know about this world? Because obviously we can play for all day long.
Yeah,
Can we have interactive games on the wall? Can you have like tic-tac-toe or something on the wall?
So there's games. So there's all sorts of, you can play synchronous games, like you can play pool or Pictionary with one another. You can play single user games, so that with timed high score ladders, users can create tournaments. The missions, which we didn't get to, enables users to actually create missions. We've got over 3,500 missions in the world. So again, a big part of it is being able to create an experience whereby the users are fundamentally crowdsourcing and entertaining themselves. Missions get rated, the best quality mission bubble their way up to the top.
On my blog, I want to put a widget that has a viewport into my world so that people can click on it and join my world. Do you have stuff like that? Do you have an API that is going to let me create different panels to put into my blog or on my Facebook page? Or
so what
like
we have got the ability to, for instance, to put like an IM client, so if, for instance, anyone came into your room, you could basically, someone coming to your website could chat with anyone who's either on your website, on that web page, or with anyone who's actually in the room itself.
Okay.
And then we've developed we've developed this. Small World sort of has emerged out of this Web 2.0 era. So the player itself is, that is the world itself can be embedded effectively anywhere that we choose to put it, anywhere in the world.
And do you have any plaques that are using the streaming video services, like from Ustream or from Stickcam? So like Leo Laporte could have a piece on the wall, and I could have Leo Laporte doing a live video show right into my room?
Yes, sure. So we've got an API, so that basically the ability, so we're enabling, not only we're enabling users to be able to create spaces, create experiences, missions, etc., but at the next level up, enabling developers to be able to create, and for instance, as you said, like a Ustream or any other sort of widget that can be embedded into the world, or to take an existing game to hook into the high score ladder. So,
do you have any terms of services? Because if I'm going to build these things for brands,
Yep.
for big brands, they want to know that it doesn't go down. And do you have any service level agreements or anything? Because this is going to be like a new kind of website for people.
yeah, sure. Well, just like any website, we've got terms of service. You'll have to check those terms of service to see. I mean, we're running on, at the moment it's running, the world servers are running on an Amazon EC2 platform, so we're pretty much as reliable as Amazon's EC2 server platform is.
Interesting. And how are you guys funded? Tell me a little bit about the business and where you guys are going to go.
So we're initially self-funded. So the business grew out of a services business, which was servicing Web 2.0, rich internet application, web entrepreneurs here in the US, and we've received some angel funding from a US-based angel.
Very cool. And this is open now, and anybody can join?
Open, ready to go. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
This is really cool. And where do we find it? It's smallworlds.com, right?
www.smallworlds.com.
Awesome.
Yeah, there's actually probably another point I'd like to make, Robert.
Go ahead.
A lot of your references are to like Second Life, for example.
Yeah.
A lot of the virtual worlds have been around for a while. In fact, if you look at them, they emerged about the same time social networks emerged,
Yeah.
2000, plus or minus. And so you have the Wii Worlds and the Habos and the Gaias and the Second Lives kind of coming up. At the same time, the social networks were emerging, but they've developed in two completely different paths.
Yeah.
And the differentiator, we believe, is that social networks are now opening up. right? Open Social,
Yeah.
Facebook Connect, etc. And at the same time, virtual worlds are these closed, walled gardens.
Yeah.
So fundamentally, Small Worlds is changing the game. It's open-ended. It's plugging in. Really, when you come into a world, in most worlds, you have to locate friends if they're
Yeah.
in there or whatnot. And here with Small World, you're essentially, if you're coming through Facebook, for example, or through MySpace in just a few weeks, you'll have the ability to bring your friends along with you.
Yeah.
And that is transformative.
That's interesting. Is there anything that the room does because I have already an existing friend network? Does it pull my friends into it, or does it do something with
Well,
Facebook or with
It'll
my
add it
friends?
to if those users are already in Small Worlds, then they're automatically added to your friends list. As they join, then they're automatically added to your friends list. We've got group and community capability, which we're adding into the world as well. So you might, connect up with, say, for instance, a group of fans around Hannah Montana, for instance. So there's a capability both in terms of connecting with real friends, connecting with friends inside the world, and then connecting in with communities of interest in the larger Small Worlds community as well.
That's interesting. Does any behavior I do here get reported on my Facebook news feed?
Sure. So that's in fact one of the things we're just implementing for the next version that we're releasing next month, is basically starting to tie into the social news feeds as well.
Very close. So all my friends will see, oh, Scoble built a room, or Scoble went to
Yeah,
your
there's
pad.
a fine
or-
line between sharing with your friends and spamming your friends. So
Yeah.
we're being really, really cognizant of what's appropriate when you're addressing, let's say if you have several hundred friends. Every little thing you do in the world is not going to be on your Facebook update.
No.
Major events. I've just reached level 20 Explorer or something like that.
Wow.
Something that's a high achievement.
Well, this
No.
is really exciting. I'm definitely going to build one of these. So this is really exciting.
One thing, Mitch, we might want to talk about is our business is really based on microtransactions and subscription services.
Yeah.
And maybe walking through a couple different applications like what we're doing with our affiliates OfferPal or Gambit, and we're doing an amazing thing with Zong mobile payment.
Yeah, the problem is my videos are getting long, so
Oh.
so we'll get more. I think we've given everybody a taste of what this world looks like, and
Yeah.
now come in and explore and
Yeah.
start doing it. So thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me and showing me this. It's really cool.
Thanks.